The day began like any other, with the soft rays of the morning sun gently seeping through the curtains, casting a warm golden hue across the room. My husband and I had always shared a deep love for our garden, and it was our sanctuary, a place of tranquility and shared moments. As I sat at our cozy kitchen table, sipping my morning coffee and contemplating the day ahead, my husband, David, entered the room with a mischievous glint in his eyes. His sandy brown hair was tousled, and his dimples appeared as he broke into a mischievous grin. "Honey," he said, his voice filled with anticipation, "I have a little surprise for you." I set down my coffee cup and raised an eyebrow. "A surprise? What is it?" David leaned in closer as though sharing a secret. "I've hidden something special for you in the garden. You'll have to find it." A sense of excitement washed over me, and my curiosity piqued. We often surprised each other with little gestures, but this was different. A scavenger hunt in our garden sounded like an adventure, and I couldn't resist. "All right," I replied with a smile. "I'm up for the challenge." Little did I know that this simple agreement would set in motion a series of events that would change the course of our day and our lives forever. With a sense of excitement and anticipation, I made my way to the garden, which was just beyond the kitchen door. The lush greenery greeted me as I stepped outside, and the sweet scent of blooming flowers filled the air. It was a picture-perfect spring morning. As I strolled through the garden, I couldn't help but notice how unusually serene it was. Usually David and I would be working side by side, planting, pruning, and chatting about our day. But today, the garden was eerily still, as though it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I finally reached the center of the garden, where a small stone bird bath stood. My eyes caught a glimmer of white underneath a pile of leaves near the bird bath. Intrigued, I bent down and uncovered a small envelope. It was plain, unmarked, and sealed with a red ribbon. My heart quickened as I held the envelope in my hands, wondering what surprise lay inside. I carefully untied the ribbon and pulled out a note, my excitement building with every passing moment. It was written in David's familiar handwriting, which added to the intrigue. Note read, "Clean the entire garden before you can find your surprise." I blinked, rereading the words in disbelief. Clean the entire garden? It was a daunting task, but I couldn't help but smile, thinking it was all part of David's playful plan to make the surprise even more memorable. I turned to the kitchen door, about to call out to David with a laugh and ask for more clues, but to my surprise, I found it locked. Puzzled, I rattled the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. "David?" I called, my voice tinged with a hint of confusion. He chuckled from the other side of the door. "Deadly serious," he replied. "You won't find your surprise until the garden is spotless." A mix of emotions swirled within me, surprise, amusement, and a touch of frustration. I realized I was in for an unexpected challenge, but one thing was clear. David had something special in store for me, and I was determined to uncover it, no matter what it took. With the locked kitchen door behind me and David's voice still ringing in my ears, I turned back to face the garden, the note in my hand. The morning sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the flowers and plants. It was a beautiful day, but my task ahead suddenly seemed overwhelming. I took a deep breath and looked around at the garden. It had been meticulously cared for, but even the most well-maintained garden had its share of fallen leaves, unruly weeds, and hidden clutter. The idea of cleaning the entire garden from top to bottom was a Herculean task, but I was determined to uncover the surprise that David had planned. I started with a small area near the bird bath, picking up leaves and clearing away debris. It felt strange to be working alone in the garden, without David by my side. The absence of his laughter and companionship made the task seem even more challenging. As the hours passed, I made slow progress. The sun was now high in the sky, and sweat trickled down my forehead. I moved from one corner of the garden to another, clearing away leaves, trimming overgrown bushes, and pulling out weeds with determination. Yet, with each passing minute, the garden seemed to stretch farther and farther. It was as if the garden itself had grown, mocking my efforts. My hands were soon caked with dirt, and my back ached from all the bending and pulling. I couldn't help but wonder if David had underestimated the enormity of the task he'd set before me. With a sigh, I realized that if I wanted to uncover the surprise hidden in the garden, I needed to stay focused and persevere. Little did I know that this unexpected journey was just beginning, and the true surprise was yet to come. As the day wore on and the sun reached its zenith, I continued to toil away in the garden, determined to complete the arduous task that David had set for me. The garden, once a place of relaxation and joy, now felt like a battleground, and I was engaged in a fierce battle with leaves, weeds, and unruly plants. My hands were caked with dirt, and my gloves had long since been discarded as they became more hindrance than help. Sweat poured down my face, and my back ached from hours of bending and pulling. The initial excitement and determination that had fueled my efforts were slowly waning. Despite my best efforts, there was one stubborn weed that refused to yield to my relentless tugging and pulling. It stood tall, its roots firmly entrenched in the soil, almost as if it were defying me. Frustration welled up inside me, mirroring the frustration I felt about the entire situation. I wiped the sweat from my brow and stared at the stubborn weed. In that moment, it felt like a symbol of the challenge David had thrown at me. I was determined not to give up, though, and with renewed determination, I grabbed hold of the weed once more. As I finally managed to uproot the stubborn intruder, a surge of satisfaction coursed through me. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but it gave me a renewed sense of purpose. I realized that the challenge in front of me was not just about cleaning the garden. It was about perseverance and determination, qualities that would serve me well as a mother to be. With the stubborn weed conquered, I turned my attention back to the rest of the garden, determined to press on and uncover the surprise that awaited me. Little did I know that the real surprise was not in the garden's tidiness, but in the heartfelt revelation David had in store for me. As the afternoon sun began its descent, I continued to labor in the garden, inching closer to my goal of completing the task David had set for me. Despite the fatigue, my determination remained unwavering. Every pile of leaves cleared, every weed uprooted, brought me one step closer to discovering the surprise hidden in the garden. But there was something gnawing at me, a growing curiosity about what this surprise could be. The note had been cryptic, and David's insistence on me cleaning the entire garden only added to the mystery. Why did he go through all this trouble? As I reached the final corner of the garden, I felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The garden was now spotless, every inch cleared of debris and clutter. I turned back toward the locked kitchen door and called out to David, "I'm done. Now tell me, what's this surprise all about?" There was a pause, and then the door slowly creaked open. David stepped out, his expression a mix of nervousness and excitement. He took a deep breath and looked directly into my eyes, and I could see a hint of moisture forming in his gaze. "Well," he began, his voice quivering with emotion, "the truth is, I didn't hide anything in the garden. I just wanted you to clean it because..." My heart raced as I waited for his revelation. The anticipation hung in the air, and I held my breath, hanging onto his every word. "Because I wanted to surprise you with something else," he finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper now. I felt a rush of emotions, confusion, curiosity, and a profound sense of wonder. "What is it, David?" I urged, my voice trembling. He took a step closer, his eyes never leaving mine, and said the words that would change our lives forever. "I wanted to tell you that you're going to be a mother," he confessed, his voice filled with love and excitement. "You're pregnant with twins." Time seemed to stand still in that moment. My heart skipped a beat as the weight of his words sank in. Twins! I was going to be a mother to not one but two little ones. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I wrapped my arms around him in sheer joy and disbelief. The garden, which had been the backdrop for an unexpected challenge, now felt like a sacred place, a witness to the momentous revelation that would forever bond us as a family. David and I held each other tightly, tears of joy streaming down our cheeks as we celebrated the incredible news that was now a part of our shared journey. After David's astonishing revelation that I was pregnant with twins, we stood in the garden, locked in a loving embrace. Tears of joy streamed down both our faces, mingling with the dirt and sweat from the day's toil. It was a moment of overwhelming emotion and an unexpected twist to what had started as a gardening adventure. As we held each other, I could feel David's heart beating against mine, his warmth and love enveloping me. The weight of the revelation slowly began to sink in, and I couldn't help but marvel at the way he had orchestrated this surprise. "I can't believe it," I whispered, my voice trembling with joy. "Twins, David? Twins?" He chuckled, his voice filled with equal parts excitement and disbelief. "I know! It's incredible, isn't it?" We pulled back from our embrace, and I wiped away the tears from my cheeks. The garden, which had witnessed our journey from surprise to revelation, now felt like a sacred place, a symbol of growth and new beginnings. I looked into David's eyes, filled with gratitude and love, and said, "Thank you for this beautiful surprise, even if it did involve cleaning the entire garden." He laughed, a sound that was like music to my ears. I wanted this moment to be special, something we would remember forever, and I promise no more locked doors and unexpected challenges. We shared a tender moment, relishing the new reality that we were soon going to be parents to two precious souls. The journey ahead was going to be filled with its own set of surprises, but we were ready to face them together, hand in hand. With our hearts full of joy and anticipation, we headed back inside, leaving the garden behind. Little did we know that this revelation was just the beginning of an incredible adventure that would change our lives in ways we could never have imagined. After the revelation of our impending parenthood and the shock of discovering that I was pregnant with twins, David and I spent some time in the garden, basking in the glow of our shared joy. It was a moment that would forever hold a special place in our hearts. We sat on a garden bench, our fingers interlocked and our eyes still glistening with tears of happiness. The garden, once a place of labor and challenge, had transformed into a haven of pure bliss. We talked about our dreams for our growing family, imagining what it would be like to raise two children at once. There were laughs and shared fantasies of bedtime stories and family outings, and we discussed names and nursery ideas. The future seemed brighter than ever, and our love for each other deepened with the knowledge that we were about to embark on this incredible journey together. As we sat there, I couldn't help but notice the flowers around us seemed to bloom more vibrantly, and the birds serenaded us with joyful songs. It was as though nature itself was celebrating our newfound happiness. The trials and tribulations of the day were long forgotten, replaced by the anticipation of the wonderful adventure that lay ahead. We knew there would be challenges, sleepless nights, and a world of new responsibilities, but we were ready to face them as a united front, as partners in love and in parenthood. As the sun began its descent below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the garden, we stood up together, ready to embark on the next chapter of our lives. Hand in hand, we walked back into our home, leaving behind a garden that had witnessed our journey from surprise to revelation, and now to sheer, unadulterated joy. In the wake of our heartwarming revelation and the joyful tears we had shared in the garden, David and I found ourselves filled with an overwhelming sense of unity and excitement. We knew that our journey as parents would be filled with challenges and surprises, but we were more than ready to embrace it. That evening, we sat in the cozy living room of our home, the golden hues of twilight casting a warm glow through the windows. The room seemed to shimmer with the promise of the future we were about to embark upon. We discussed our dreams for our twins, imagining the kind of parents we wanted to be. We envisioned ourselves teaching them to ride bicycles, attending school events, and guiding them through life's ups and downs. It was a shared dream, and our love for each other was the foundation upon which we would build our family. We talked about our own childhoods, recalling the lessons we had learned from our parents and the values we wanted to instill in our children. There was a sense of excitement and anticipation in the air, as well as a profound sense of gratitude for the incredible gift that had been bestowed upon us. As the evening deepened into night, we made a promise to each other and to our unborn children. We vowed to be the best parents we could be, to nurture and support them, and to cherish every moment of this new adventure together. With the warmth of our shared dreams enveloping us, we headed to bed, ready to face the challenges and joys that the future would bring. Our garden adventure, which had begun with a locked door and a cryptic note, had led us to this beautiful moment of unity and hope. We couldn't wait to meet our twins and begin the next chapter of our lives as a loving family. In the days that followed the heartwarming revelations and shared dreams in our cozy living room, David and I found ourselves preparing for the arrival of our twins with an enthusiasm that only new parents-to-be could understand. Our home buzzed with activity as we began setting up a nursery, shopping for baby essentials, and attending prenatal classes. The garden, which had been the backdrop to our unique journey, was not forgotten. In fact, it became a place of deeper significance for us. We decided to plant a special tree in the garden, a symbol of our growing family and a reminder of the challenges and love that had brought us to this moment. One sunny morning, we ventured into the garden, hand in hand, to select the perfect spot for our tree. The garden, once a place of labor and surprise, was now a sanctuary filled with love and anticipation. We carefully chose a young oak tree, symbolizing strength and endurance, and planted it near the center of the garden. As we worked the soil together and watered the tree, it felt like a sacred ceremony, a way of connecting our past, present, and future. With the tree firmly in place, we placed a small plaque at its base that read, "Planted with love in celebration of our twins." It was a promise to ourselves and our growing family, a symbol of the love that would nurture our children as they grew, just as the tree would thrive over the years. As the seasons passed and our twins grew inside my womb, the garden continued to flourish. The tree we had planted began to spread its branches, providing shade and shelter for the countless moments we would share as a family. The flowers in the garden bloomed more beautifully than ever, as if they too were celebrating the impending arrival of our twins. The locked doors and hidden surprises had led to the most beautiful revelation of all, the promise of a family together. Our garden would forever be the garden of our family, a place where love and surprises bloomed and where the roots of our parenthood ran deep. And so, as we stood in our garden, gazing at the tree that represented our love and our growing family, we couldn't help but smile. Our unique journey had brought us to this point, and we were more than ready to embrace the adventure of parenthood that lay ahead. Our garden, our sanctuary, had witnessed it all, and we couldn't wait to create countless memories with our twins in this special place we called home.